Just going back a little about that night, have you had the time to watch the fight again? Did anything surprise you, like when you're sitting down and watching the actual fight?
Uh, no, nothing surprised me, but I was a little bit disappointed in my own performance. I think that I could have done better. I could have done some things a little bit differently. But overall, I'm very happy with obviously winning the fight.
We saw you trading punches with Amanda, and you were like causing a lot of damage. Did you imagine yourself being in that position, trading punches with somebody like Amanda that hits very hard?
Yes, I did, and I knew that that was going to be a part of the game plan. I knew that, the only way to fight a big puncher like that is to fight fire with fire. You have to be willing to stand in the box and trade with this type of fighter, and it takes a very select few that are willing to take that risk. I'm one of those people, whereas some girls like to, dance around the ring and get on their bike and, dance around the whole time. That's never been the type of fighter that I am. I am the type of fighter to meet contact with contact. And so I knew that that was going to be the game plan. And I knew that I just had to bite down on my mouthpiece and meet fire with fire. And that's perfect for me because that's the type of fighter that I am.
How important is the mental game against Amanda?
The mental game is very important. You got to have it upstairs. A lot of the times it can come down to the mental aspect. We can train the same amount, we can do the same amount of work, we can know the same amount of things. But if your mentality is not on point, that is the number one thing to kill you. And so for me, making sure that my mind is strong is a very important thing. Sometimes I say it's like 90% mental, and it comes down to your mentality and what you're willing and not willing to accept in a fight.
When in the past we have seen champions like Misha Tate, like when she won, she was crying. Holly Holm was crying. Even Amanda Nunes was crying. But when you won, you seem like very chill. You seem like very like it was like another win. Is this how you visualize it?
Yeah, so I like to say, and thank you to Mike Valley, you can't get married to your wins and you can't get married to your losses. And it's kind of rude to be, screaming all over the place. I know other people like to celebrate like that. It's just never been my style. I definitely also think that I was expecting her to put up more of a fight, and so I knew that I was going to win the fight. I just didn't expect for it to be as to come at round two, for example. So you know also, I've never jumped on the octagon before. I've never got on the cage, and my coach actually made me. I wasn't planning on getting on the cage, but he ended up like boosting me up on the octagon like a baby. And I got up there, and that was new to me. That was something that I was definitely put out of my comfort zone on. But I'm glad I did it. I definitely want to give the fans the love and the support. I just also want them to know, you can't get married to your wins and you can't get married to your losses.
How sure you are that you're gonna be facing Amanda Nunes in the rematch for your next fight?
I'm 100% sure that we're going to be facing in the rematch. I mean, I don't see any other fight. Somebody said, well, what if she goes up to 145 and takes an easier fight and rides off into the sunset? And that absolutely cannot happen. She has to fight me.
What can you tell me about your Mexican side of the family? We know that your Venezuelan side,
Yeah.
but what can you tell me about the Mexican side?
So my grandfather is Mexican. He's from Mexico, and my grandmother is Mexican as well as Native American. So both of my mom's parents are Mexican, and growing up, I didn't get to see a lot of my dad's side of the family since he's from Venezuela, and I just grew up immersed in my mom's side of the family. So it was my grandfather was a pastor for 50 years, and whenever we would go visit them, we would go to church, but like we would sit front row, and his church was all Spanish, and so like we would sit there for like over an hour, 2 hours, because his sermons would go forever, and we couldn't understand a word he said, because he had to pastor the whole thing in Spanish, and so just growing up, we ate a ton of Mexican food, tortillas with every meal, rice and beans for everything, and so music, especially the music, tons of music. My dad would wake us up in the morning blaring Hispanic music every single day. And so I definitely feel like I was in touch with my roots from a very early age.